Let's get some fresh air. No, Shasky.
Oh no, I mean, yeah.
You're all right, Shasky, over there, man.
Well, I'm just following this John Morosi, Toronto Blue Jays, Dodgers, Giants, love triangle with Shohei Otani.
So
I'm trying to keep up on it. There's just so much out there, and it sounds like Spadonio. It sounds like to me that like it's Dodgers, Toronto, Giants in that order.
What about the Mariners?
The Mariners were already eliminated, remember?
Were they?
Yeah, they bowed out like a week ago.
Oh, I didn't know that. No, let's ask Dick Fain. KJR up in Seattle, our good friend Dick up there. And look, we had him on before Thanksgiving, before the first Niners-Seahawks game. Dick, you're a big-time Mariners fan. You guys have had a lot of success over the last 2 years, although I didn't like what the GM said after the season about, I'm trying to build a World Series, and I don't know how to do it. But anyway, you guys are out on Otani?
Nobody liked what the GM has said since the season has been over. That's for sure. I mean, from the comments to the 54% comments that they're making jerseys out right now in Seattle, where he basically said, yeah, the plan is if we can just win 54% of our games over the course of a decade, at some point we'll win a World Series, because that's what history tells us. And we're just like, are you serious, man? So your goal is 87 wins, huh? All right, your goal is 87 wins. Good to know. But I think they did a lot of payroll dumping over the last 3 or 4 weeks. They got rid of Geno Suarez. They didn't give the qualifying offer to Teoscar Hernandez. They made a trade for Jared Kelenic. I mean, they got rid of a lot of money, and optimists, and I would include myself as one of them, would say, oh, okay, they're clearing a lot of money for a guy like Shohei Otani or Cody Bellinger, and now we're hearing more and more rumblings from people that are deep inside the team that no, this is an issue with their cable contract with Root Sports, and that they're trying to save money this year. And yes, they may have a payroll that's as good or better than it was last year, but it's not going to be significantly more. And so that to me sounds like the end of the dream of Shohei Otani in Seattle.
Yeah, this RSN's going under has made a bunch of teams turn into sellers. Let's get to the Seahawks here. What happened? What happened? They've lost 4 out of the last 5. I know that the running back got injured, but what exactly has happened? Why the free fall for the Seahawks?
Well, first of all, I hope you guys will believe me now when I come out and say that the 49ers are by far the best team in the division, and they're going to cruise to a 2 or 3 game win in this division, because the first time I told you that before the first game, you guys thought I was sandbagging, and I was actually just buttering you guys up. The 49ers are by far the best team in the division, okay? So let me repeat myself. I think we did see a little more of the real Seattle Seahawks last week against Dallas. Now, they weren't able to get it done, but as you'll recall, in that game on Thursday night, I mean, that was a game where Seattle went toe-to-toe with Dallas on the road, lost 41-35, could have gone either way, and I think that's more of what Seattle is. I think there's San Francisco, there's a bold line, there's Philadelphia, there's a thin line, there's Dallas, there's a line, and then there's Seattle and Detroit. I think that's where Seattle belongs. Now, Seattle hasn't been playing, other than in the Dallas game, Seattle hasn't been playing to that line. Seattle's been playing like a 16th to 20th best team in the NFL for most of the last month. Ken Walker is a big deal. There's no question about that. But it does seem like Shane Waldron opened things up, got the ball out of Geno Smith's hands a lot quicker against Dallas than he had in prior games. The offense seemed like it had a direction. It seemed more creative, and that's where they got to get started. The defense, though, was a problem. You can't be giving up 41 points to Dallas Cowboys or anybody and expecting to win. And this defense now has given up 31 to San Francisco and 41 to Dallas. This was a defense that I thought was pretty darn good. I mean, going into the season, this should have been at least a middle of the NFL defense. And right now, it's in the 20s. So they've got to step it up, and it doesn't get any easier with San Francisco this week and Philadelphia next week before they rattle out the season with 3 manageable offenses that defense should crush in Tennessee, Pittsburgh, and Arizona.
All right, Dick Fain of the Softy and Dick show up there on 93.3 KJR up in Seattle. He's also the lead voice, play-by-play voice of the Seattle Storm, a juggernaut of a WNBA franchise there. We're getting one down here in the Bay Area. Hopefully we can see Dick come down in the Bay Area. But, when you did make that appearance a couple weeks ago, And you did. I thought you were sandbagging. I was down in Disneyland, and I met some Seahawks fans, and I thought they were sandbagging as well. You did say this, Dick, about Geno Smith.
I would put him in that probably 10 to 15 range with Geno because when I evaluate these guys, I say, okay, what would Geno Smith look like with Kyle Shanahan, and what would Brock Purdy look like with Shane Waldron? And my answer to that is Geno Smith would be a better quarterback with Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco than Brock Purdy would be in Seattle with Shane Waldron.
How you feeling now about that? You still stand on that one? You still standing on business, Dick?
I will say this. I will stand on the part of that was not intended as a shot at Brock Purdy at all, or really even a lifting up of Geno Smith as somebody great. Like I said there, 10 to 15 somewhere in the NFL, 10 to 15 for Geno Smith. It was more of an indictment of Seattle's offensive plan and more of a pumping up of what you guys have in Kyle Shanahan and that offense. Everything around Brock Purdy is to perfection. Kyle Shanahan's system is to perfection, and it makes Brock Purdy a lot better. That being said, Brock Purdy has been magnificent since I made those comments. Now, is that a short-term magnificent? Is it a long-term magnificence? We don't know. If you put Geno Smith, Brock Purdy, you name it, any quarterback that's not named Mahomes or Josh Allen, any quarterback that's not in that top 2 or 3 elite, if you put any of them in a bad situation, ask Zach Wilson how that goes. Ask Bryce Young how that goes. What I would love to see is in some alternate universe that puts Brock Purdy in Carolina, that puts Brock Purdy with the New York Jets. I would love to see how good Brock Purdy is on his own when he has to do it on his own. Because we know a guy like Patrick Mahomes is good enough to do that. We know a guy like Josh Allen's good enough to do that. I don't believe Brock Purdy's of that level, but Brock Purdy has shown himself, yes, to be better than Geno Smith, and I wouldn't put him at 10 and 15, but I'm not putting Brock Purdy in the top 5. I mean, if you guys are putting Brock Purdy in the top 5, then I'm excited, like I told you before. I'm excited as a Seahawks fan because then Brock Purdy then is going to get the 5-year, $250 million contract that's going to sink the franchise like it sunk the Seahawks franchise when Russell Wilson got honestly, that type of contract.
Not even fun and games. We always have a lot of fun.
You really think Zach Wilson would look anything close
Zach
to
Wilson
Brock
is
Purdy?
garbage. Zach Wilson is garbage.
I mean, come on.
I would have asked Dick.
Deal in reality?
Dick, give me 5 quarterbacks right now who's playing better football than Brock Purdy.
Nobody's playing better football. Look at the quarterback rating. Nobody's playing better football.
I'm just looking at forget the ratings, just the yards, the touchdown passes, the command of the offense. There's not 5 better quarterbacks than Brock right now.
Okay. Then you are willing comfortably to give him top dollar when his contract is up.
I'll cross that bridge in 2 years. Like he makes $900K for 2 years.
If he's that good, why wouldn't you give him that type of money right now?
Because you don't need to. Like with the franchise tag exists in your back pocket for a reason. He's making $900,000 for a reason right now. And in 2 years, we'll worry about it. He's 23 years old. I mean, and do you respect Brian Baldinger, who does the Baldinger breakdowns? Do you respect him?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Brian Baldinger, who studies this for a living, played for the league. I respect his opinion. Now, I don't agree on everything he says. He said that he thinks Brock Purdy would take the Jets to the playoffs. That's how many close games they've been in.
I actually disagree with him.
I know,
on that
but that's what he thinks. That's what he thinks.
It's the Jets for crying out loud.
I mean, and we could do this. Well, if so and so was here, he's not. He's with Ayuk, he's with Debo, he's with CMC, and he's maximized it. We saw Jimmy Garoppolo with those same weapons, and it didn't look this good.
Well, you did go to the Super Bowl. I mean, you should have won the Super Bowl if Whiskey Tart holds on to an interception. I mean, he didn't look as – you're right. He didn't look as good as Brock Purdy.
He didn't have these weapons, though, either.
He looked good enough to win a Super Bowl. He looked good enough to win a Super Bowl twice.
Yeah,
I thought.
Look, I'm going to push back on the whole Jimmy G. Jimmy G actually, with these weapons, started to play a lot better with Christian McCaffrey. He never had weapons like Brock Purdy, though. He walked into a game against Arizona one season with Trent Taylor, Dante Pettis, your boy from UW, and freaking Kendrick Boyd as the starting wide receivers.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different type of offense. This is the best offense that I've ever seen San Francisco have, and that's including the Colin Kaepernick, Frank Gore offense. I mean, you got everything, and that's why you have to take advantage of this window, guys. Yeah. There's no more losing Super Bowls for San Francisco. I mean, that's the one thing we have in Seattle in our back pocket. we've got that Super Bowl championship. And we took advantage of the window, and we got one. Now, we should have gotten two, and who knows if they would have gotten three, if they would have gotten two. But you know what? I will always have that Super Bowl championship in my back pocket, and you guys have to take advantage of that this year or next year, because once Brock Purdy starts making the money, we see what happens to every single team. The window shuts.
No, so give us a real quick report before we let you go, Dick. Who's playing for Seattle? What's up with the running backs here?
Yeah, Ken Walker didn't practice yesterday. Neither did Zach Charbonnet. Hopefully it's precautionary. We'll find out more today. Obviously, are a much different team with Ken Walker playing. I mean, Zach Charbonnet did a nice job against Dallas last week, but he is a complimentary back. And when you have a 1-2 punch in Charbonnet and Walker, then you can really do something. You know, this is not a game Seattle's going to win. I hope they come with the same type of fire and the same type of balance that they had in that Dallas game and make it a game. I do like the 10.5 points. I think in a rematch game this close to the last one, remember the last one, they only had 3 days of rest coming off a Sunday game. So there was a blowout for a reason in that game. I don't think this one looks like that one, so I'm taking the 10.5 points. But I'm circling the Philadelphia game the next week, because if Seattle can look good against San Francisco, say lose 30-23 or something like that, Philadelphia is going to have a war with Dallas this week. I think it's a game that probably Philadelphia wins. Seattle has got to come back home on Monday Night Football and win that game against Philadelphia. That is a winnable football game. It's a letdown spot for Philadelphia. It is a circle-it, must-win game for Seattle. That's the one they got to get so they can catapult themselves into the last 3 games, which they will be favored in all 3 of them. They got to get those if they want to make the playoffs.
Dick, you're always kind to us, man. Have a good show up there in Seattle. Not really best of luck up there because we can't stand you guys. We want to sweep you and beat you for the 5th straight time. Oh, how the tide has changed.
You will. Yeah, the tide has changed. No question about it. So, hey, man, I like I said, you guys got to win this thing this year. You are the best team in the NFL, and I think with a bullet.
Love that. Love that. All right, Dick, have a good weekend, man.
See you guys.
Dick Fain, Softy and Dick Show on 93.3 KJR. You looking so glum,